more and more communities are being built in the urban interface where the trees meet the eaves, it is important for communities and homeowners to be prepared in the event of a wildfire. In the next half hour, we'll be talking with community volunteers and officials about specific steps they've taken to make their community more resistant to wildfire. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll take you up to Prince George, British Columbia, Canmore, Alberta, and out to Shelter Bay, Washington. Stick around. This is going to be fun and informative. We're here in Shelter Bay, Washington, a community that has made some real efforts to make their community more fire resistant. I'm here with Skip Cooper, and you're the chairman of the committee that's working on this. Now, what made you decide that your community should be fire-wise?
I guess one of the most important reasons that my wife and I got involved with the program was that we used to live down in Northern California, and we were living there when the Oakland-Berkeley fire was starting. And if you ever experience a whole community burning, it's frightening. Wow. 25 people died in that fire. And when we moved up here to Shelter Bay, it's a mirror image. We don't have the eucalyptus trees and the Monterey pines, but our trees are pretty tall. And I view it that if we had a fire from a shake roof, we're going to have a horrible fire. So our biggest job here is trying to convince the people here in Shelter Bay that there is a problem.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, Skip, because here we are, we're on the west side of the mountains here. Don't people think fires don't happen over here?
No, but we were actually told that some of the worst fires in Washington were actually here on the west side. And that's frightening. So we took this area here, we made it a demo area.
This was a green belt, and as I understand it, it was quite a mess.
The blackberry bushes were taller than myself. They were canes this thick. And we actually brought in goats. We brought in 280 goats into Shelter Bay here.
How did you get the idea to bring in goats?
My wife, school down in the Bay Area, actually brought in goats to get rid of all the weeds that are up on the hill. And that eliminated the weeds, and then it also eliminated the fires.
But so did the community get involved? Were they excited when you brought in the goats? And
we at first had a little bit of resistance. They didn't want to have farm animals up here, but once we brought them in, the kids thought it was a petting zoo, and we had a great time with them. And
cool.
They did a good job, but where the goats have let off, we have to keep on going. As you can see from this area here, the weeds are coming back. This was down pretty low, but this is what we did over here. Let me show you this over here.
Okay, great.
Here's Jenny Hinderman from the Skagit Conservation District.
Hey,
and,
Jenny, nice to meet you.
Jenny has showed us how to plant everything and where to plant everything and what plants to plant. And the district has just done a fantastic job for us. I got to go take care of some fire-wise work.
Hey, you've been doing great work, Skip.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you, too.
Okay, we'll see you guys.
Thanks,
Okay,
Skip. See you later.
All right, Jenny, you're the brains behind the operation here, right?
Yeah, actually, the Skagit Conservation District has worked very closely with the Firewise Committee in Shelter Bay to develop this planting plan for this Firewise area. So all the plants that you see in here are fire resistant as well as wildlife habitat enhancing.
Oh, so did you kind of handpick every plant then?
Yeah, actually, I picked it. I met with the committee, and we went through a list of fire-resistant plants, and we picked those out, and then we narrowed it down by plants that are fire-resistant as well as wildlife habitat enhancing, like this rhododendron here that I was just weeding.
Yeah, boy, it's happy. It's growing like a wildcat, you know.
It's doing really well.
So you must have been thinking about color in here too.
Yeah, we wanted it to be colorful, so it would invite more of the community in to come and learn about the plants that are in here and being a fire-wise community.
I've noticed this is an educational type display because you've actually put tags on the plants so people can learn what plants are fire resistant and
that's correct.
What grows well in these areas.
That's correct. The committee worked together to put these tag identifications on all the plants that we put in so that people would be aware.
Do you have a lot of community involvement in this? Are people helping you? This would be a pretty big spot to weed,
Oh yeah,
you know?
it's a big job, and that committee has been working very hard to come in here and weed and plant and do all the things necessary to maintain this area once it was planted.
Now, I heard, you know, some of the people weren't too excited about the fact that you were going to open up this green belt, and some were worried about losing their privacy. Did you consider that when you chose your plants?
Yeah, we did. We were well aware of that, and this area that you can see over here, where those red osier dogwoods are, is actually a really wet area, and red osier dogwood does really well in wet areas, so I took that into consideration. And there's a home right there, so I know that those red osier dogwoods are going to grow up thick and tall to provide some privacy for that home right there.
Yeah, you know, not that many people realize you could put a red osier dogwood practically in the water, and it could dry out like a rock and still survive. What a perfect choice for a plant.
Yep, worked out great.
And fire resistant to boot. And boy, talk about feeding birds.
Yeah, red osier dogwood is great for wildlife.
Wow, what else you got in here?
Over here we have a red flowering currant. Which is fire resistant, it's native, and actually I should mention that a lot of these plants were provided by the Washington Association of Conservation Districts Plant Materials Center. So I was able to get those for the Shelter Bay Committee to put in this project.
Oh la la, wait till you see what we're going to show you next. We'll be right back. So the community and your department are all working together, and the fire prevention departments are all working together to not only make this work, but make it educational.
That's correct.
That's very cool. And boy, when you talk about these flowering currants, when they bloom in spring, they attract the early hummingbirds that come back. So that's wonderful. And then the birds eat the berries later.
Yep.
Have you ever tasted one of those?
No.
Me either. I always want to taste them, but the birds always eat them too quick.
What a bummer.
Hey, what do you got over here?
That looks like some salal that we planted.
Oh, yeah.
We have it. No, we don't.
No tag on that one.
No tag on that one.
You're going to have to get to work here. Now, there's a plant that'll spread, be a nice undercover, huh? Give you weed control.
Yes, it's good ground cover and good weed control.
And hey, I've tasted the berries on these many a time. Have you eaten them?
I have.
They're good, aren't they?
They are good.
People think you don't eat salal. They're delicious.
Yep.
Got anything else in here you want to show me? Hey, what about all these beautiful ferns?
Yeah, a lot of these ferns were actually here already, and some of them were actually transplanted from people's yards in the community who wanted to help out and volunteer some of the plants that they already had. So,
did you know that those are the original chip tips?
I did not.
You can divide them. The American natives used to do that. They divide them. They clean off the fleshy roots, because you can divide them almost any time you want. Take half out. Clean off the fleshy roots, and they would dip those in boiling whale or seal oil. Does that sound good or what?
That just sounds fabulous.
And I've noticed there's some really beautiful vine maples over there.
Yeah, we put the vine maples up on the hill over there in the shaded area because they like a little bit of shade, so that was a perfect option for that particular microclimate over there.
Oh, it'll look spectacular with the fall color, with all that green. Oh man, that'll be beautiful. Hey, and I gotta ask you about that lilac over there.
Actually, that lilac was a donation from one of the neighbors around here who wanted to help out, and that's going to be a great plant. It's right on the edge next to the street, so it's very visible for people to come by, and it's, of course, produces a lot of beautiful flowers, and it's very fragrant, so it's inviting for people to come in and take a look at the site.
Come in and learn all about how to make an area beautiful and resistant to fire. Hey, what a job. Are they ever lucky to have you helping them, Jenny?
Well, thanks.
Thanks so much for talking about it.
Sure.
All right, everybody, don't go away, because oh la la, the best is yet to come. With Dave Hunsinger, Community Relations Coordinator. And you know, Dave, I've seen some beautiful communities. This is one of the nicest I've ever seen. What kind of things did they do in this community before the construction started to make sure that it was more resistant to fire?
Well, one of the benefits of being a new community, Ciscoe, is that right at the early stages, at the early beginning, the town requires and requests a wildfire risk assessment. This is done, conducted, and then all the recommendations are then addressed by either the Three Sisters Mountain Village, the developer, or the person responsible for dealing with these recommendations.
I've seen a beautiful golf course here, a bridge. We've got walkways, wide roads. These are all part of the things that were planned beforehand and the placement of them to make sure that it help reduce the risk of fire.
Exactly. The topography comes into play quite a bit. You can't really modify the topography. However, you can take these things into consideration at the planning stages. The topography affects the wind direction. So all this is taken into consideration at the planning stages, which then comes into play with the careful and proper placement of dwellings and buildings.
You've got this spectacular golf course here, and everybody that would see it would just, oh wow, great golf course, but it was actually placed in a particular place to help reduce the risk of fire.
Well, the golf course, Ciscoe, acts as a buffer. It's about a 500-meter buffer, which is inside the primary wildlife multi-species corridor. And the golf course encompasses 240 acres or 100 hectares. And when you consider that on this golf course initially, the initial stages of the golf course, there's 1,400 sprinklers, individual sprinkler heads. So at any given time, if there ever was a fire, in the event of fire, they could certainly be hooked up with suitable and appropriate hoses to fight the fire.
Wow, so the golf course acts like a giant fire break between the forest where the fire might come from before it gets to the community.
You've got the wildlife corridor plus the buffer zone before you get to the residential community.
What other kind of things were considered and planned for to make this community more resistant to fire?
Well, you probably noticed, Ciscoe, that our roads are a little wider to allow larger vehicles in the event of an emergency to gain access and maneuver in and about the area. As well, in keeping with this big heavy-duty bridge in the background here for evacuation purposes or emergency access, if required, others will be developed and into the plan, part of the plan for future development.
Is it true that you actually built a firehouse right here in the community?
That's true, Ciscoe. Until such time as our permanent fire hall is built, we have a temporary fire hall located right up in the subdivision. If it wasn't for the flags and the sign out front, it could be easily mistaken for a home, which it is. And at which time, once the permanent fire hall is completed, it will be sold as a home.
Oh la la, you mean, are they going to leave the pole in? You get to ride down when the fire alarm goes on? Oh la la! Don't touch that dial or all the sprouts will fall off your Brussels sprouts. I'm here with Mike DeTero, and he is from the Ministry of Forest and Range. Now, Mike, I noticed that you did some really nice thinning near the houses, where kind of the houses are on the edge of the forest. Can you tell us a little bit about what you did up there?
Yeah, well, as you can see in the area behind us on that hillside, Ciscoe, the city has done some really good work in this park, in the urban forest. They brought in some small-scale harvesting equipment and used it to do some fuel modification. That hillside used to be covered with red, dead mountain pine beetle attack trees. This park itself, they've taken out 8 loads of logging truck loads of wood. Wow. What they did here, though, is some fuel treatments and treat the site with sensitivity in mind. The vast majority of everything you see back there was there in that stand before they took those trees out. So they made sure that when they felled the trees and they skidded them out, that they tried not to disturb some of the understory that was there, be it aspen, be it some of the spruce trees, so that there was minimal site disturbance, so that it looks still aesthetically pleasing. It's not a clear cut, for lack of a better term. We've got something left there, it greens up, and it looks natural and fits in really well with the landscaping in the park.
It does, it fits in perfect, and what amazes me, I could barely tell you went in and did all that work. Truckloads of trees out of there, and yet it looks so natural.
Yeah, and that was only done a year ago. and here we are, and in the spring, and things have greened up, and it looks nice.
It looks nice, and also you've really reduced the fuel for a fire in there, huh?
Yeah, one of the things that you can do from a fuel treatment point of view is you can go in and take out the fuel that's the issue from a fire point of view. If a fire ran through that and nothing had been done, it would indiscriminately kill anything that's there. From a fuel treatment point of view, you can take out the species at risk, at issue, whatever, which the mountain pine beetle attacked the pine trees, but the spruce that were there, the aspen that were there, weren't affected, and they're still there, they're still healthy, they're still vibrant, they're still growing.
So you can have a beautiful forest setting with a lot of diversity, but you don't have to just have a moonscape there.
Exactly.
That's a great job. It's just beautiful, and it's another example of how people can visit a park, see how you folks do it, and then find out how they can do the same kind of thing at home to make their homes less at risk for wildfire. Mike DeTero, thanks so much. I'm here with Mark Fercho at this beautiful park, but you tell me it used to be nothing but red pines that were killed by the pine mountain beetle?
That's right, Ciscoe. This park in the area you see behind us, the gazebo, this was used for wedding photos with very large pine, nice mature trees, and they did get killed by the pine beetle. We had to come in, do the removals, and what you see here is 1 year later we've been working to rehab the site and create new landscaping beds and replant some trees. And as you can see, we were able to retain some of the other tree species, but it's been a lot of work. I think we've taken about 8 logging truck loads of mature pine out of this park.
Right out of this park?
So it's a big change. If you haven't seen it before, then you just see it as an open park, but for people who knew the park, it was very densely treed, nice, big, mature pine, but you know, with change, you have to make changes, and this is one way that we're looking to make it beautiful.
Well, look at how beautiful you've made this park now, you know. So here it was a catastrophe, but it ended up an opportunity to make something really beautiful.
Yeah, it's turning out quite well. We're looking forward to the next few years, but it's starting to look a lot better.
Wait, do you see what we're going to show you next? Oh la la! We'll be right back. Hey, this is a great park, Mark. Let's look at some of these cool plants you put in here. This is one of my favorite plants. This bleeding heart, it actually comes from Asia. It's a drought tolerant, tough as a rock plant. It does die back in the middle of summer, but by then all your other plants will have filled up and grown in. What a gorgeous plant. You know what I love? Hummingbirds fight over every flower. Oh la la. Now, I love this spirea. You know why? If you plant spirea, you're going to have butterflies all over your garden.
Well, that's great. This garden, if you know Prince George, we have pretty tough climate, so the stuff that you see growing in here, if it survives here, it can survive in most places.
So homeowners could come here, see what you did, and then they can plant a lot of these same plants, and all these seem to be the type that are fire resistant. So we can put these in around their homes and have beauty, and at the same time they know they've got something that's going to survive.
Yeah, tough is important.
Yeah. Now, and by the way, you're going to cover all this with annuals as the summer goes along, right?
We're just a little bit early right now, but soon this will be covered with a whole bed of annual plants.
Hey, this is going to be so beautiful.
Provides excellent color.
Wow, cool. Now, this is a daylily, and of course we're not seeing the flowers yet on this. Did you know that you can eat the flowers on daylily?
Well, I've never tried that.
Never tried it, huh? Now, deer won't eat these things. That's the good news. But yeah, you could take a flower off, put it on a salad. It looks beautiful, and if the people want, they can eat it. The only thing is, some people get a horrible rash after they eat them, so don't tell them till dinner's over. Oh, la la. Hey, come on along. Now, I love this plant. It's called lungwort or pulmonaria. And the reason for that is because the leaves look just like a lung. And in the Middle Ages, any plant that looked like part of your body, if you got sick and it was your lungs that had a problem, since this looked like lungs, they made the medicine out of this to see if they could cure you. And guess what? They've gone back and done studies to see if lungwort actually did any good. Did no good at all. Just be glad you didn't live in the Middle Ages. Oh la la! Now you know that if you get a lung problem, you won't take any of this stuff, that's for sure. Okay, hey, here's one of my all-time favorite plants right here. Now this stuff is called heuchera, but most people call it coral bells. And you know, they get little flowers, and you know, the flowers look like a little spray or something. Now, one thing about those flowers that's really cool is if you cut them off and put them in a flower arrangement, they last for a long, long time, and they're kind of a little spray of flowers, which is nice if you have a bunch of bold foliage or big flowers in there. And if you put those flowers, that flower display on your patio table, when you're eating dinner, the hummingbirds come right to the flower display on your patio. Oh, la, 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 la. This is a great park, Mark, and how nice, though, that you were able to take catastrophe and turn something into something so beautiful with all kinds of great plants that people can come to see and then realize they can grow these easily at their own home.
Yeah, we have some very talented gardeners here in the city.
Yep, that's for sure. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you.
You can help get your community prepared for wildfire. Contact your local fire or forestry department to learn what steps your community can take. For great ideas, contact your landscape professionals and certified arborists to find out how you can have a beautiful landscape while reducing the risk of wildfire. Thanks so much for watching. Now get going.